A hidden world of extraordinary creatures.
Slate 9, take 4.
David Attenborough wants to take us inside the lives of the micro-monsters.
Welcome to the fascinating world of the arthropods. Spiders, scorpions, and insects.
These tiny animals eat, mate, and kill in extraordinary ways. But David and his crew have taken on a massive challenge: to film it all in 3D.
The really exciting things to look at in 3D are the small things.
They will have to deal with unpredictable animals and temperamental cameras, set up shoots in 3 continents, and battle tropical storms.
Got all equipment straight into the tent, cameras covered up.
Stings, bites, and danger are never far away.
There she goes.
The team's patience and persistence will be tested to the limits in a quest to get inside the world of the micro-monsters. It's David Attenborough's first day of filming on a new series. He wants to feature a set of remarkable creatures that fascinate him, the superstars of the animal group known as the arthropods. Arthropods include spiders, insects, and scorpions, and make up more than 80% of the planet's animals.
Arthropods have a vast effect upon the Earth, and we are dependent upon them in many ways and the way in which they affect the environment in which we live.
They often live out of sight and unnoticed, but these creatures have some truly astonishing behaviors that David is eager to capture.
We want you to see the miracle of an aphid, which is giving birth to a baby, which, as it is giving birth, you can see has also got another baby inside it. Yet that's a miracle. I mean, if you saw that in an elephant, that would astonish you.
David also wants to capture these natural wonders as never before. This will be his 5th project to be filmed in 3D.
All these projects we've been doing have been driven by 3D. We started with flying monsters and then moved to penguins, and then from penguins to Q. And while we've been doing them, we've been sort of really looking for other opportunities to really push the 3D. And insects is a fantastic way of kind of pushing the envelope, because once you've got the technology to get in very, very close, you're living in another world, and that whole world is really interesting.
Even the most familiar things you suddenly see in a new way. You may think you know something about ants or termites. You may think you know something about scorpions. But I'll guarantee that when you see it in 3D, you'll see it in a new way.
To achieve this will be a massive challenge. There are over 200 creatures on David's wish list, scattered across 3 continents, often in remote locations. And the crew will have to use a variety of different camera systems to capture the action. A traditional 3D mirror rig to film wide shots. A time-lapse camera to cover slowly unfolding events. And a high-speed camera to record slow motion. But to get pin-sharp close-ups of the tiny creatures in 3D, the production has had to develop a whole new type of camera. They have brought in wildlife cameraman and inventor Jonathan Watts. He has been working on a pioneering new system, a system the team realized had huge potential.
Proper British man-shed design and construction is unique. There's only one of them at the moment.
Traditional 3D cameras are large with 2 separate lenses, but it makes filming up close extremely difficult. Jonathan's design, called the Cube Rig, is a very different beast.
The Cube camera, instead of having 2 lenses like these, it has just 1 lens, and at the back of it, a prism which splits the one image into 2 lenses and puts them into different cameras, with a slight difference between, which caters for the difference between those 2 eyes.
The Cube Rig can magnify pictures up to 50,000%. the equivalent of making an ant the size of a lion. This cutting-edge technology means the team should be able to film some of the world's smallest spiders and insects from a completely new perspective.
What we're trying to do is to eliminate the sensor scale. What we're trying to do is to take you, if anything, to shrink you and to move you to the same scale as the insects.
This series will be the first major test of the Cube rig. But the team still need to assemble their cast of characters. Bugs are incredibly tricky to control and handle. They tend to fly off set, walk out of shot, or simply refuse to move.
We have an idea of what we'd like them to do. Are they going to do this? How long is it going to take? So a lot of key challenges.
With that in mind, the team are planning to film some of the bugs in a controlled studio environment, and for that, they will need an expert. Martin French is a mild-mannered accountant, but in his spare time, he is a hugely respected bug specialist. He holds one of the largest private collections of arthropods in Europe, and they all live in his back garden in Norfolk.
This is my bug shed. It's 60 foot long and 15 foot wide, purpose-built to house every critter that we could get in here.
There's something like 150 or 200 different kinds of small creatures in his house. He's built a whole shed for them, an immense shed in his garden in which he keeps these things. And he also has, like many enthusiasts, a sort of network of friends who ring up one another and say, I've got this and I've got that, and it's doing something. So that he is at the center of a web.
The only way to film insects up close is to do so in the controlled environment of a studio.
Generally, invertebrates like to be kept in a small space. If they can feel everything around them, then they feel safe.
Martin is really central to this process. His experience in this field is absolutely invaluable. We can make the technology happen, but ultimately, it's the bugs that are the stars.
It may be David Attenborough's first day on set, but the crew have been trialling the new kit for months. And 4 weeks ago, Martin's bugs and Jonathan's cube rig came face to face for the first time. But it's the bugs that grabbed the crew's attention.
It's got beautiful colour on the inside of the raptorial arm. If you get a close-up of its face, it's like something out of Doctor Who.
I've never seen such beautiful little creatures, ever.
This is the largest scorpion in the world, still growing.
Just take a step back.
I'm terrified.
Oh my goodness.
my God, no, it's going to jump out.
And that will actually slice through your finger.
The bugs had exposed a few phobias, but the cube rig quickly made a splash of its own with some stunning images.
Oh, that was brilliant! It took everything off to the side.
That's all right, actually.
The team were beginning to realize the full potential of the technology.
The possibilities are incredible. It's blowing my mind now.
What looks like a petri dish full of flat soil, suddenly it is like a little mountain range.
The test shoot was a huge success. The cube rig had produced unprecedented 3D images of the macro world.
Once you've established that a thing is small, the fact that it is small becomes less interesting than what they're doing. And of course, what they're doing, if you are looking at things in great magnification, is nearly always a revelation.
But as they embark on the main shoot, the Micro Monsters team have a fresh challenge to overcome. For the series to work, it won't be enough just to film bugs moving around. They need to capture a huge range of specific and highly complex behaviors.
What we wished to do was to show interesting stories, but in one program, a variety of different creatures. And so we took the great dramas in any bug's life, which is courtship, colonialism, and conflict, each of which is a self-contained story, but when put together, you get an idea of variety that exists in the invertebrate world.
But will the bugs behave naturally in the unusual surroundings of a studio? Or will they get stage fright? If they do, the ambitions of the series will have to be massively scaled back. To find out what's possible, the team have decided their first full shoot will tackle a notorious piece of insect behaviour: mating between a male and a female praying mantis. It has rarely been captured on camera and never before in 3D. The name praying mantis suggests a gentle religious nature, but its apparent praying posture belies a ruthless predator. Creating the right conditions for the pair in the studio is proving tricky.
You're dealing with an animal that likes to do this at dusk, and we're trying to do it in basically bright light at the end of a stick in front of a camera. Lots of movement, lots of vibration.
This male is quite prone to flying, so...
The crew know that when it comes to mating, a female mantis is very picky.
By and large, male and female need to get together to produce young. One of the problems is that you don't necessarily know whether the animal you're seeking is well disposed towards you. Now, this doesn't matter if you're just herbivorous or plant-eating creature, but if you're a hunter, one of the problems is if I can get close to that one over there, how does he or she know that I have the right intentions?
Martin is concerned that one disturbance from the crew will turn this female into a killing machine.
I don't.
Yeah, don't bother.
He doesn't need anything to put him off.
Nobody dares breathe.
Just sound and everything will be good, just to keep it all down.
It looks like it's all going to plan as the male slowly advances on the female. Suddenly, it all goes wrong. The female decides sex is off the menu. Instead, her potential suitor has now become dinner.
You see that there?
Let this be a severe warning to all the guys out there.
It looked like it was going to happen, but instead it's turned into a kill. I think it's not what we were after. We think it may have been an issue with vibration, because they sense a lot through feel.
But the male is about to surprise everyone and give the team a taste of quite how unpredictable the insect world can be.
They're mating.
David Attenborough and his crew have embarked on a 3D adventure into the miniature world of the arthropods. In a studio in London, they are attempting to capture the rarely seen mating behavior of the praying mantis. But things aren't going to plan. The female has decided she would rather eat the male than mate with him. But the male is about to surprise everyone.
Oh, they are mating. Oh, they're mating. If you look at the back end, they're mating.
Even in the throes of death, the male has succeeded in mating with the female.
Quite a lot of people who've said, you know, about praying mantises, they'll say, yeah, oh, that's the one when the male is mating, he gets his head chewed off. In fact, the curious thing about that is that we are not absolutely certain how frequently it happens in the wild. But nonetheless, the fact is that it does happen.
There. That's the actual connection there. That couldn't be better.
That head looks separated. It's hard to...
There's just a connection.
That tiny little sinew there. Yeah, but he hasn't got...
Any minute now.
But remarkably, this male isn't entirely dead. He's begun to impregnate her. The female has removed his head, and with it the brain cells that control his inhibitions. But his abdomen has its own nerve cells. Cells that control the act of copulation, and they allow him to pass on his genes even in the throes of death.
To capture that behaviour, capture it quickly and capture it well, showed us what we were capable of doing and allowed us, I think, to set our ambitions a little bit higher.
With the production up and running in spectacular style, the crew need to start working through the huge list of behaviours David has requested. In 2 months, the production will move to Africa, then Australia, so the pressure is on. For the most part, the bugs behave themselves, until the time comes to film the mafia of the insect world, the common American cockroach, in a set designed to look like a filthy domestic kitchen.
What we're interested in is how their antennae are so well developed that they can find their way into tiny spaces.
This should be a simple shoot. They don't need to film at the close-up macro level to catch the action, so they can make do with the standard 3D camera.
Let's get ready to rumble, shall we?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
The crew can't move fast enough to keep up with the cockroaches.
They're running all over the place. They completely have control. I suppose that's what you expect from cockroaches. There he is.
The crew trace the bug's overactive behaviour to the bright lights needed to film this level of detail in 3D.
One of the problems with temperature, as far as an insect is concerned, is that the warmer it is, the more active it is. And so if you get the lights too hot, they become so active that you can't control them.
Martin the bug wrangler suggests a strategy often used: cooling the bugs down.
And so we're slowing them down so they get much, much colder, so they're much less buzzy and physical. All right, should we have a go?
3, 2, 1, go.
The cooling trick seems to have worked.
It's a problem of balancing to getting the temperature right in order that they should be reasonably active and reasonably comfortable, but not so active that they've gone before you've been able to get a shot of them.
Nice one.
Well, the secret, as in almost everything else, is knowledge. If you know enough about why they behave in that way and how they behave in that way and what stimulates them to behave in that way, then you can control that and sometimes reproduce it.
It may have been possible to tame the cockroaches, but not all the arthropods are so obliging.
We're thinking maybe we should nudge them out, see if we can get a bit of activity from them.
Insects didn't do what we'd expected them to do. So it's a steep learning curve, a very steep learning curve.
The crew are spending days waiting for crucial behaviours, which may simply never happen.
Just stretching our patience a little bit.
And despite Martin's expert gentle handling, the bugs still don't always appreciate the attention.
Every time you touch it, you're stressing it to the point that it doesn't want to behave.
What about if we moved it a little closer to us? It's the way it is. You know, natural history doesn't do what you want it to all the time. They're not like actors and actresses that you can say, do this now. They are their own thing, and we're not their masters. We just have to do the best we can.
To get the best bug behaviours, Martin is charged with building bug habitats that are as realistic as possible.
It's very difficult in the studio to make it look real, as if it's in a natural surrounding.
Today, Martin faces one of his biggest challenges, to play homemaker to a hive of bumblebees. The colony, complete with queen, has been delivered from a bee specialist in Belgium. And whilst the bees settle down after their long journey, Martin is putting the finishing touches to their new home.
This is going to be a bumblebee nest, basically nest underground, so you would have roots and bits hanging in there.
The aim is to capture the bee's strict social hierarchy, with the queen bee overseeing the hive's many different workers. But the big hurdle is transferring the colony to the set.
Martin is currently cutting the hive out of their plastic container that they were delivered in, and it's a difficult venture because these bees are angry. There we go.
Stay.
Yes!
The crew need the bees to settle down overnight. If they don't, the entire sequence will have to be abandoned.
We have no idea if we come in tomorrow morning whether they would have settled into their new home. It's a real touch and go.
Morning arrives, and the queen bee is still proving awkward.
We've got bees coming out, we've got the queen out. Get back in, get back in, get back in, get back in.
Something happened to the queen, the workers would have no reason to stay. They would just fly away. We're just going to hope that Martin can get the queen back on there and she calms down a bit and starts doing her regular business.
Martin dives straight in and uses his bare hands to tame the queen.
Nice. Queen's back in.
Is the queen still on there? Yeah, she's in the middle again.
Bug wrangler Martin's home building skills have paid off. His set is realistic enough to make natural behavior happen in the studio. The queen and her bees finally start tending to their hive.
She alone lays. So she is the mother of every bee in the family. To prevent competition from her offspring, she releases a chemical, a pheromone, that renders the workers unwilling to lay eggs themselves. Unable to produce larvae, these offspring become the queen's workers, looking after the day-to-day running of their home.
To get everything, and probably one of the best sequences we've got at the first attempt, that doesn't happen very often, and it was so exciting.
With 2 months of UK filming under their belts, David's team now need to film bugs on a bigger scale. Vast colonies of insects.
There are some things that you can't bring in the studio, and one of them is the behavior of a huge colony of maybe hundreds of thousands of individuals.
A specialist unit is dispatched to Kenya. 7 tons of kit are on the move.
For the last 30 years, I've been travelling abroad with film crews, and we take a lot of stuff. But I have to say, on this particular series, you feel like an army on the move.
This is exactly the kind of behavior the crew are hoping to capture in a group of insects that are local to the area. Safari ants.
There are those kind of hunting ants, and they will march in a column of, say, 6 inches across and clear out the small creatures that they're prey in a particular area and march maybe for several days before they establish another bivouac and hunt again.
Safari ants' collaborative behavior is highly sophisticated and will be a highlight of the series. The team employ guides to help them locate a large colony, but a series of unseasonally violent storms are making the search far more difficult than it should be. Finally, they follow up a promising lead.
We and the guys have spent about a week looking for safari ants. After a week of searching, we found 2 nests.
But the crew's optimism is about to be washed away by a violent storm. It's driving all the ants into hiding, and if any water gets on the highly sensitive cameras, it could put them out of action.
Well, we've got all the equipment straight into the tent, cameras covered up. These are some of the problems of filming in Kenya.
Unless the team get a break soon, they'll be heading back to the UK empty-handed. David Attenborough and his team are filming the hidden world of the arthropods. Using new technology, they're attempting to capture these tiny creatures in extreme 3D. A specialist crew are in Kenya to document the marching behavior of safari ants. But after a whole week spent finding a nest, a violent tropical storm has brought the shoot to a grinding halt. The next morning brings with it good weather, and sunshine has brought the ants out in huge numbers. The team's local expert, Kenyan entomologist Dr. Dino Martins, has started to dig out the ants' temporary shelter called a bivouac. He's in search of the queen. It's the perfect opportunity for the crew to grab some shots, but as they start to move their cameras in, the digging unleashes a torrent of trouble.
There's an ant on my arm. Can you get rid of it?
Safari ants and army ants, if they're in a travelling mode, they will be running down a particular track, and you can stand within 6 inches of them and they won't take any notice of it. If they then suddenly change their behaviour, then it's every ant for himself and every man for himself.
The one jaw went in there, the other one there, and so they lock together.
The only thing to do is strip off your clothes immediately and then run for a river.
Under attack, the crew have no choice but to grin and bear the pain. Finally, using their standard 3D camera on a long crane, they get the shot they were after. Stunning images inside the nest. But nearby, they stumble across some remarkable behavior. A small army of safari ants launching a merciless assault on a much bigger creature.
We found this mass of ants attacking this slug, and it's been completely overwhelmed by, hundreds and thousands of vicious safari ants.
To do the scene justice, they need to film in extreme close-up and bring the pioneering cube rig out of the studio for the first time.
Okay, just give me a shout, and it's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's nice.
They managed to capture in extraordinary close-up 3D the gruesome cooperation of hundreds of thousands of tiny safari ants.
Oh, that's horrible. And quite evil.
The insects have got over the problems of scale by becoming colonial. And the driver ant colony of several million individuals can act just like a single large vertebrate, like a lion.
These are driver ants. With up to 50 million individuals, this is more than just a family, it's a colony. The queen is the mother of them all. She is the only individual that's able to reproduce. And the entire community, in their millions, exists purely in order to support her.
Back in the comfort zone of their London studio, David and his crew are plotting how to film the next big group on his wish list. So far, they have covered a huge number of insects and scorpions, but they've not yet tackled one of the biggest and most fascinating branches of arthropods, and one which just happens to be David's favorite: spiders.
I like spiders a lot. I think spiders are rivetingly interesting, and they're extraordinarily intelligent. They all have personalities. Some spiders are easier and happier than others, and some are more ferocious.
Even experienced naturalists like David have had painful run-ins with spiders.
Richmond, Surrey, in the lavatory, I saw a dear little spider in the winter, and I thought, oh, you dear little thing, you need protection. So I put out my finger and it bit me.
But when it comes to some of the more deadly species on the list, the team will have to be extremely careful.
Everybody can make a mistake, and everybody can get a bite inadvertently. I mean, you don't want to get too cocky, and if you're playing around with a funnel web spider and you get bitten, you're in trouble.
To capture all the spiders David wants to include in the series, the team will have to travel once again. Spiders are found in every continent on Earth except for Antarctica, so the crew have got plenty of choice of where to go. But for the best range and the most extreme specimens, one place stands out: Australia.
There are a lot of interesting spiders in Australia. There are some that are extremely poisonous. A lot of people actually have never been to Australia, saying, oh, it's a terrible place, it's overrun by spiders. Knowledge is the great thing. Superstition is the enemy. The superstition that all spiders bite or are poisonous or something, that's superstition.
The Specialist Close-Up Unit have relocated to a sweltering corner of northern Queensland. Here, the thick rainforests are teeming with specimens. And out collecting them for the crew is bug expert Alan Henderson.
This is Invertebrate Central as far as Australia goes. It's just an incredible biodiverse place that has an abundance of species. It's also a retirement area for entomologists. They tend to gravitate to this region.
Filming in thick rainforest with the cube rig would be impossible. And with no studios nearby, the crew are setting up base in an empty shop unit in a nearby village.
We're actually in a little village called Kuranda in the rainforest just outside Cairns. And remarkably, everything's turned up, everything seems to be working.
Day one will start with one of the world's fastest arachnids. the giant raft spider.
If I can get it out of here without it racing off, that's the perfect scenario. It just might go bounding in funny leaps across the floor, and they tend to try to jump. There she goes, coming your way. Bouncy girl. It keeps me entertained.
The mood in the studio turns serious when Alan brings in the deadly Sydney funnel web. A spider so poisonous, its venom can kill a human within 15 minutes.
They have a toxin in their venom known as atraxotoxin, and there's been 13 deaths attributed to Sydney funnel webs in Australia.
Specialist cameraman Rob Hollingworth needs to make some final adjustments and has no choice but to get in close.
I mean, is she okay? Because she's moving quite a lot.
Yeah, that's sure. I'm watching. It's okay.
You need to give it a little bit of respect. By respect, I mean safe working distance of several hundred metres.
But with some steady nerves, Rob gets the action he needed, and the deadly funnel web can return to its box. Inside their converted shop, the team are gearing up to capture one of the most important aspects of spider behaviour: web making.
Spiders have developed a vast range of different ways of catching their prey, and the most familiar kind, perhaps, are the webs. Familiarity shouldn't breed contempt. That particular structure is very complex and fascinating to watch.
The team want to capture the hunting strategy of the notorious red-back spider, which uses its web in a sophisticated way. It's a highly venomous spider whose bite can be fatal to humans. Whilst its web looks chaotic, it's actually a carefully built network of tripwires, traplines and pulleys. Bug handler Alan Henderson carefully introduces a creature the redback might fancy as its lunch: a beetle.
First, she winds strands of silk around the struggling beetle to immobilize it. When the beetle tires, she bites.
It was quite remarkable how quickly the whole thing unfolded. Great 3D, great behaviour. It may even be one of the best things we've shot in the whole series, so I'm very, very pleased.
The macro crew now have the full set of spider behaviour they came to Australia to capture. They head back to their bug studio in London. There's only a few weeks left to film the last few creatures in the series. And these will prove to be the most challenging yet.
Nice and quiet, please. We've got scorpions on set.
David Attenborough and his 3D film crew are nearing the end of their journey into the world of the micro-monsters.
We're going in on these eggs in here, look. Yeah, nice, because that's nice.
They have returned to London for a final stint in their bug studio. After over a year of filming, the series' transmission date is looming large. The crew are running out of time to film two crucial scenes they are desperate to capture. After all the successes so far, they now feel confident enough to take on one of the key sequences of the series and one of the most difficult behaviours to capture: the rarely seen mating dance between a pair of scorpions.
What happens is that a male and female scorpion will come together and they will lock pincers. And then they will move back and forth. And it does look very like a country dance. And people talk about the dance of the scorpions.
The crew have been told by experts that their chances of filming the scorpion's mating dance are very slim. Creating the right conditions is essential. Scorpions only mate at night, so to create the right mood, the set is plunged into darkness.
Nice and quiet, please. We've got scorpions on set.
Filming them in the dark will be made possible because scorpions have a very unusual trick up their sleeves, which can be triggered with special ultraviolet lights.
Scorpions do have this ability to fluoresce. Nobody knows quite why they do this, but it's also an interesting way to do it because their behaviour is more natural. They don't feel as threatened under UV lights. For them, it feels like nighttime, so they're much more relaxed.
With the perfect conditions in place for scorpion romance, it's time to let nature take its course.
What happens is that the male puts a little packet of sperm on the ground and then tries to pull the female over it, so that once she is in over it, her genital opening is on the top, and then she can take it in. It's as though she doesn't know where it is, and he has to guide her. And sometimes it looks as though she doesn't want to be guided.
She's just not that into him.
Scorpion pair 1 doesn't appear to be the perfect love match.
The female broke away and ran away.
A change of males doesn't improve matters.
Is this the same? This is a new female, is it, or a new male?
But with a little bit of patience...
Oh, my Lord.
He arouses her by caressing her mouth parts. But while he tries to stimulate her, she is testing his strength. She yields. Now he is leading her.
They said we wouldn't get this. They said this was one of those pieces of behaviour that we'd never be able to manage. And we did, we got it.
Shot 15, take 2.
David and the team can move on to their final sequence, and it's their most ambitious yet. To capture the most sophisticated and complex insect colony of all, one that has developed the ability to harvest the rainforest and use the produce to run a farm.
One of the really extraordinary insects, which I remember filming way back 50 years ago, and the only place you could actually see them was in South America. And when I saw them for the first time, I was totally unprepared. I'd never seen anything like it. They were the leaf-cutting ants. And leaf-cutting ants are rivetingly interesting.
The aim is for the team to film the ants' entire farming process, from cutting and carrying the leaves to feeding them to a special fungus back in their nest so they can eat what the fungus produces.
One of the most extraordinary developments of ants is that they invented agriculture, and they invented agriculture sort of something like 50 million years before we did. They collect segments of leaves, take it down, chew it up in special gardens, and on that grow fungus. And the ants then chew those and take it off and feed it to the young.
These processes have been filmed many times before in 2D, but never in extreme close-up 3D. It's such complex behavior that there are real concerns about whether it's even going to be possible.
Look, the soldier is cutting the tape.
One behavior the leaf cutters need no encouragement with is their famous ability to cut and carry leaves. Unfortunately for the crew, the ants don't seem to be very selective when it comes to the cutting.
Oh, hello. What happened there?
They've sliced straight through the wires used to suspend the set.
Yeah, look.
The set is repaired, and the crew get ready to film the next phase, the ants bringing the leaves inside the nest. Their nest is normally 6 meters underground, but to film it, the team have had to bring it above ground. Despite the use of specialist low-heat lights, the ants aren't happy, and they're refusing to carry the leaves into the nest. But cube rig inventor Jonathan has an idea.
If you dip them in lemon
and you hand it to them with a pair of tweezers, they'll usually just take it like that and march off with it.
It's the first time I've heard of it, to be honest.
Found some lemons.
Do you reckon it's going to work?
I wouldn't have thought so, but I'm open to offer.
Bug wrangler Martin tests Jonathan's theory.
Having a look at it now. There we go.
Inventor Jonathan's simple idea has succeeded. The attractive scent of lemon tempts the ants back to work. They start to carry the leaves towards the nest.
They seem to absolutely love the sweet taste of lemon.
Everything comes together. The team are able to get stunning footage of the ants at work as they feed their domesticated fungus and keep the whole farm clean and well watered.
They can be so heavy that sometimes only the larger major casts of the ants can lift them. Their nest may be up to 120 metres away, a very long distance for a porter that is only a centimetre long. Here, the smallest caste of ants in the community, the minims, are hard at work in the underground gardens. They receive the leaves from the foragers, chew them up and feed them to the fungus.
Today has been absolutely unbelievably good. We have got some awesome looking shots visually, but the behaviour has been spectacular.
It's the last thing the team need to film, and with this, the entire project is finally complete. David and his team have overcome immense challenges to achieve his dream and shoot the world of the arthropods in immersive 3D.
We've pushed the technology and we've pushed the bounds. I think this is going to take 3D in a whole different direction and right into the world of these incredible bugs, which really dominate our planet.
They've faced challenging shoots across 3 continents, struggled with a cast of millions, and pushed 3D technology to new heights. David is continuing to break new ground in the world of wildlife filmmaking.
I have been amazed at how much we've been able to do with this very demanding filming technique. Filming in 3D is a rather different matter from just creeping about with one little camera. And in many ways, you would be worried that the technique and the technology is going to get between you and achieving the best behavior of the animals. And it's not proved that way. There's been a staggering improvement in 3D technology, and I think they should produce some pictures that will really make your eyeballs start out of your head.